truth is that as from a child, I grew up in the country in St. George, and I always loved agriculture. In every backyard, people had sheep, some people had goats, chickens, ducks. We kept guinea pigs, rabbits. So this is something that I came up with as a child and always liked it. Then in secondary school, I did agriculture as one of my O-level subjects, and that helped to increase the natural love that I have for agriculture. I went on and I did agriculture at the tertiary level. I did a farm management course. This was what they call a work study course for 2 years. And then in the late 90s, I went to the Barbados Community College and I did the associate degree in agriculture. If you notice, what we are doing basically is we're keeping broiler chickens and layer chickens. It is very important, especially when you're starting, that the atmosphere in which you're taking a chicken into is very, very clean, because remember, they are coming from inside of an egg, which is a very sterile place, and we cannot bring them from a sterile environment and place them into a pen that is very dirty and messy, full of a lot of bacteria. We're looking for trouble. So one of the things you would have noticed is that we were power washing a pen that we have, getting ready to sanitize that pen. We use some commercial products sometimes, or if we don't have it, we can use simple things like bleach. Bleach is a very, very good cleaner. But after we have cleaned by power washing, we go in and we make sure that we are going to make the environment for those baby chicks, those day-old chicks, as clean and as sanitary as possible. And there are a couple things we do. We washed out the pens get rid of all the old debris that was there. We wash. We have a flamer. We go in and we light it. It is operated using a barbecue bottle, and we would actually flame that pen. So what we mix with water, the heat actually kills. Then after we have done that, if we are not ready for the pen in a hurry, believe it or not, we would use white lime and just lime all the floors of the pen. Sometimes we may put that lime inside of our spray can and spray it at the sides of the pen and leave it for a few days. And then prior to bringing in the chicks, maybe a day or two, we can use a commercial product, or we can use bleach, where we spray the sides and the floors of the pen. And after that, we then would use a bedding material, prepare a bedding material and spread on the entire floor. The bedding material is to make sure that all the stool from the animal goes on the bedding material, because you can turn it as it gets wet, and it gives the chickens a little warmth also. They like to scratch in it and enjoy themselves, and we would do that as far as sanitation is concerned. Now, in preparation for the baby chicks coming on the day that we are getting our baby chicks, we want to know that when they come, that the house, the brooding place that we are using, we call it a brooder, the brooding place is all prepared and ready. And when you bring your baby chicks in, you should actually have their water in place and their feed and feed containers in place. So they come in and they're able to start pecking on the feed. And the reason why you need feed, if you don't have that feed and you're using whatever bedding material you use, instinctively they're going to start pecking on these things. And you don't want them to be filling their craws with a lot of dry material. If they're going to have something in there, you want to make sure that it is feed that they have. So we make sure that our feed is there, and also water. what we do with water is on that first day we use some vitamins in the water solution that we are giving them, and some people use either a little sugar or a little molasses in the water solution. That helps, the molasses sugar helps to give them some energy. The molasses especially may have in some minerals that the chicks could very well use, and that helps with our first day of getting these baby chicks going. Yeah, something that I should have said also about the baby chicks, in addition to the fact that they're coming from a sterile environment and that, you know, it should be very clean, is the fact that baby chicks need to be placed in an environment where the temperatures are at a given point. I think it is somewhere around 90 degrees Fahrenheit. And you try to do that for about 2 weeks. You don't want your birds to be going through hot points and chills and such like. So we want to be able to, you can buy a simple thermometer and put into place. Now, some places what they do is they may use heat lamps. You have to have electrical supply. These lamps keeps the brooding area at the given temperature. Some people have brooders where you have an instrument that is actually heated up, and that dissipates the heat through the particular area. But the point is, you want to make sure that for the first 2 weeks you can have temperatures that would help the bird to mimic what they were actually experiencing before they come. The other thing is that in pens you may have cold winds coming in. You don't want your animals to be experiencing hot and cold and going through this type of stress. So it is good to always have some sort of heating mechanism for the birds. In Barbados we have a problem, and it is that we have about 1 operational hatchery in Barbados right now. So that is a tremendous challenge for any poultry grower. There's a monopoly, there isn't an option. If you are not satisfied with that hatchery, there's no place to go. We had 2, but the other one, I think they're closed. Only this year they're closed down. So right now we have 1 hatchery, which is really Gale's hatchery in St. Philip. I understand that there's some person in St. Lucie hatching chickens also, but I have no knowledge about them, no personal knowledge about them. I know nothing about them and their quality of chicks. And for our chicks here, the hatching eggs are actually imported eggs that the hatchery brings in, and they would do the hatching from there. If you notice, we have set up our bedding materials so far because we want to keep in here dry. The bedding material helps to add some warmth for the baby chicks, as well as it stops the feces from going directly onto the concrete floor. If it goes directly onto the floor, in here will become very damp, and the environment will be very chilly. So this is why we use the bedding material. We have our feeders ready. In a minute or so we will just bring in our waters, right? But very importantly is our homemade heating. This is made from one of the outdoor stoves that you see people would use when they're frying fish cakes and such like. It is powered by a 20-pound cylinder gas. We light this up, and notice the feet of it. Simple concrete blocks, 4-inch blocks that you can buy anywhere. The cover for this is a piece of a ridge cap. This is what goes on top of your house. And after we set it, we have our stove all lit. Then we put this over our stove. What happens now, it sends the heat. This gets hot after a while, you can't touch it, but it now sends the heat in this direction. This one, and also under these two flanges, you get the heat dissipating in here. We never turn this up to all. This has 3 burners. We use one of the 3 burners, but we keep it to a point where the wind would not out it. That is how little heat we use. But with this concoction, this whole room is heated up. With baby chicks like these need a temperature of 90 degrees for about the first 2 weeks. If they're not getting that type of temperature range, you find that it is going to affect their growth 2-3 weeks from now. So you want to give them as good a start as possible. So remember, that temperature of 90 degrees for the first 2 weeks is very important. And this is what this serves to do. So a person starting, you do not have to go and spend hundreds of dollars on heaters. You don't have to have expensive heat bulbs that are going to give you a high electricity bill. As a matter of fact, I worked out, not on this price, but on the older price, that for a batch of 500 birds, one container of a 20 pound container of LP gas is going to cost me about 7 cents per bird. So if I were to spend 7 cents or even 10 cents per bird to keep a bird alive and to keep that bird healthy, that is a very, very low cost that we are putting in as far as heating. And once that gas is lit, we scarcely turn it off unless in here gets too hot. It would just run till the gas runs out. All right, so after we have all of that done, in a moment or so, we are going to fill our feeders with some feed. As a matter of fact, I'm going to do it now since I'm on it. Remember, this feed that we're using is broiler starter, and you will notice we have these custom-made feeders, but I am also using some egg trays. And in addition to the egg trays, what I do is I use this card that comes as a padding for the baby chicks. I also use this on the ground. The reason why is, in spite of all this fancy stuff, these little chicks cannot eat from this efficiently. So we make sure that we have feed right on the ground. We put some in our egg trays also, as well as we put some in these. But more importantly than having feed in this is having feed on this simple piece of paper. You can use newspaper, you can use anything that the wind would not blow it up too easily. And these egg trays, this is more efficient as a feeder right now than these. So just take that into account. Now, after we have done that, the next thing is our waters. With our baby chicks that have just come in, we want to medicate these birds from day one. What we do is we give them some vitamin. I also give them some vitamin E at the same time, and we give them an energy source. You can use sugar, you can use some molasses. I give them about a tablespoon of molasses. For this 5-gallon container, I probably put about 3 tablespoons of molasses. Molasses is going to give them some energy, plus it has in minerals and such like that they will be taken up from very early in their life. We have put in the measured amount of vitamin that we need, and I want you to know carefully, you need these measuring containers so that you're not really guessing. This one is a teaspoon, this one is, I think, a quarter of a teaspoon, right? And each ingredient, each medication you're using, make sure that you always take some time out and read your labels. The labels are going to say exactly what quantity of this here should be used to a gallon of water. And never think that if 1 teaspoonful is good, 2 teaspoonful would be better. Never. The guys who manufacture these, they know the exact quantity that your birds are going to need per gallon of water. So don't think that you should over medicate anything that the manufacturer has already indicated how to do it. One of the problems we find that chicks have many times is a vitamin E deficiency. So what we do from very early, we put in our vitamin E. Later in life, if a chick has a vitamin E deficiency, you would notice that that animal is walking with his neck twisted backward. And this is a good indicator, you know. This isn't an invalid animal. Well, he becomes invalid eventually, but the problem is simply a vitamin E deficiency. The next thing if in here is too chill with the cold air that is coming in, what happens, they start to bundle under each other and trample each other. So I can lose a lot of birds when they go into the corners trying to get warm from each other's body. So this is why you want to know that there's a very good distribution of warm air in this place. This is why we use this. And this is why we're going to shut all these windows and keep out the cold air from coming in here. For people who don't have an enclosed place like this, what they can do is they can get the same feed bags, plastics, anything, and just put it around their small brooding pen to keep out that cold air. In the night, you don't want these here to be trying to get away from the coldness. So we are finished with in here. They have the feed, water, and they should be happy. So right now these are what we would call their old chicks. They were hatched yesterday. Come to the farmer's place and we take over from this point. Now this is not the very best specimen of chickens. These are 2 weeks old, but these have had some problems, so we are now working on them to get them back on stream where they should have been. But this is basically the size that you would find from a 2 weeks bird. You're just seeing birds, they're all chicks. You've seen them at 2 weeks, and these here now are 4 weeks. Because we bring in every 2 weeks, these would have been 2 weeks older than the last set you've seen. So this is what a 4-week-old bird would look like. This set is about 5.5 weeks old, and in another week and a half or so, we'll be ready to carry these to market. Now, if you look very carefully on the floor, you see that we have a little innovation where we are not using bedding material in this pen, but we are actually using pallets in this pen. This helps us to keep the pens a lot drier and a lot cleaner. This also helps to keep down bacterial infection, and so at the end of the day we have a much better birds without the use of medication or limited amount of medication. It is all about sanitation. Now, this is one of the feeders that we use. These hold roughly about 25 pounds of feed, and if you're keeping birds, it is extremely important that you have the correct number of feeders per a given number of birds. I think it is like 1 feeder to every 50 birds that you have. One, if you don't have sufficient feeders, you're going to have too much competition for the little feeding space that we have around here, one, and the bullies are going to take over. So you want to make sure that if a fowl is chased from one feeder, he has an alternative area where that animal can find feed. So the thing is, for every 50 birds, make sure that you have at least one feeder. The same thing goes for the waters. This is where we get our water from. If you notice, there's a drum on the outside. We have these PVC pipes coming here. Saddle is hooked into this and it brings the water down this black tube and into this receptacle. And you want to also make sure that you have adequate number of waters in each pen. And let me say something about watering. Anytime you have to make a sacrifice between feed and water, let it be feed, but never let your birds run out of water. If these animals run out of water, that can be catastrophe in your pen. If they run out of feed for a day, no problem, they get hungry. When you bring feed, they just trample over each other and they have some feed, but never water. And part of it, especially with the broilers, the feed that they're eating, remember I mentioned that you're using broiler finisher at this stage. That feed, the energy level inside and the metabolic processes that are going on in the animal, it is like a furnace in there. And if they're not getting water, you're going to find that they're going to be stressed out, they're going to get heat stroke, and they will very well die on you. I had a very nasty experience a few years ago where my tank was out of water. We did not know. And I had birds that particular day, they were supposed to be slaughtered. When I came, the waters were all dried. And I had about 250 dead birds just because they did not have water. So make sure that at all times, if you're using an external drum outside of your pen that is holding water, make sure that that drum always have water, and also make sure that the mechanism that is controlling the flow of water, that these mechanisms are working right. Because sometimes within here they get clogged up and no water is going down to the receptacle. So you also have to make sure that these mechanisms are clean, they're not clogged up, and they're dispensing water properly.
I was working kitchen garden for a while, more than 20 years, where all down the entire land was planted up and I was working it. Then afterwards it was bush. And then afterwards me and Wayne got together. A couple of years down the line, me and Wayne got together. We just decided to put up a SWAT, and I did continue at a much smaller area to work some kitchen garden where some beds are over close to the house and the rest is over that side. But I used to raise sheep years ago, and so is chickens. So the chickens and the sheep are nothing new, and the birds. So all that bare old stuff, we do them now at a much on my own, me and Wayne. So we have pear trees, mango trees, buffet trees, plantain tree, and bananas. Well, with the home garden, I have seasoning. They're planted by the little pots, and I have sweet margin. They're planted by seedlings, and I also have thyme. The monkey is not letting me plant anything else. When you plant, they come out, the monkey eat them. So in that way, you get disgusting, or the monkey getting more than you. The main things I have is seasoning, sweet margin, and time for right now. All right, here is buffet trees. We have about 5 different, at different stages. There are five bunches of buffets on this tree. And over here, we have some layers. And over the other side, there are some broiler chickens. Now started, the other set have gone off, and they're younger broiler chickens that now brought home today. And over the other side, we have lovebird, budgies, and cockatoos in a cage. They will be developed in a much larger cage soon. The sheep, the ewe, I get her at an adult stage and have her single for a while, and then afterwards we bought the ram about a year old. So now with the pair, we have, later down, I guess we will have little ones right now. This is the pen right there. Used to be, but here is advanced pen. If the feeding, I give it sweet feed with corn, with potash, pellets, and mix them all together. And I mix it, and that is their feed on evenings. On mornings, I tie them out, let them like to eat the grass. So I have big area where they get to eat all around the spot. So there's no problem in terms of grass. So they get eat a lot of grass. Only thing is when the rain is falling, they won't get to go out. So other than that, they get a much bigger area in terms of feeding, eating grass.
First thing, what motivated me to get into gardening is that my mother would come from Canada, and I would be like telling her, "Mommy, come out the mold, come out the mud." So by seeing my mother planting these things, it encouraged me to pick up on it. And when I see the things, even if I don't use them, I was interested. So that's how it really started. I didn't start it with this land. I have gotten some cans. So I have bought some potter's mix, some seeds, and I have really did started with that. I will go on YouTube. So when I go on YouTube and I see some of the things that they would do, that's how I really get to know what to do. I would, as I said, I planted mostly lettuce because I do a lot of salads. It has not always been easy. Sometimes they don't come out as you want them to do. So you would go to like a establishment that would sell seedlings and the different things. So then I would pursue to that, and they would tell me exactly what to do, and I would do that. First start to prepare the things, the seedlings. I got in some cans. I would have taken them and get them cut. I would have bought some potter's mix and mix it with some mold. So that's the first step that you would do. You mix the potter's mix with the mold, you buy some fertilizer and you mix it in with that. So then you would plant some seeds from packages. So you would sow them and then bend them like within 3 weeks or so, they would come out, and then you would plant them out in your containers. You can see I have some cassavas, some nuts, local nuts, and some pea trees. I do have sweet pepper that is now trying to come. Some pineapples that will soon produce pineapples. I have some chive, local chive, some lettuce. This will be on Sunday's plate. Lettuce. I'm trying with some local pears. This is Jamaican apple. This is golden apple. This is local pears. Now let me get back to radish. This will be the first time I am trying radish. And there you go. There you go. Radish. And we would proceed to soursop tree, thorn pear tree, Hadrian cherry tree. Yes. And as we go a little further, I have some turmeric that is now coming back up. Some cabbage. There we go. Some kale we have. Now trying to come, but they will come. Some cucumbers. As you can see, there are blossoms. And we will go on. Zucchini. So this is the first time I would have tried zucchini. And they are now blossoming. And we will go a little further. Have some more. Pomegranate. This is a pomegranate tree yet to bear. Pause. And we will go here now. A lot of us don't know about this. Buffets. And who needs them can come and get them. There are some hot peppers. There we go. Yet to blossom again. And we will go on. These are some banana trees. And we have fig trees. There we go. Figs. And we do have lemon grass. Here is a mulberry tree. Chocolate mates. Some chocolate mates. Sweet margin, now trying to come. There we go. And this is part of the process. Some beets, now waiting here to transplant. There we go. And this is from seeds. And now we are going along. We have some dragon fruits. Dragon fruit plants, actually. Trying to bear eventually. There we go. Dragon fruit plants. And there's the pineapple plants all around. Pineapples, there we go. Pineapple plants. This one in particular, this is Hawaiian pineapple plants. This is what I have at home. This is Chinese cabbage, and this is where I started. Really started with the half of cans. Sweet peppers. Don't have much now. Sweet peppers and more Chinese cabbage. I do have some bay leaf and some aloes that I use at least once or twice a week. This is the sadness sometimes. Look, this is what happens sometimes to your plants. It hurts you, but nevertheless, I still goes on. Push on and go. Push and go. This is eggplants. As you can see, this is one, but the only thing is all. And this is about it. I have some more eggplants that I would dearly love to give some person who needs them. Eggplants. I would love to give them away. Who needs them can get them. Some lettuce, some lettuce. That would be on the table on Sunday. I do have plants because I love plants. Back in the plant section again. Have some parsley, some more lettuce. You can even use your old tubs. Look, it has in sweet margin and thyme, your old things. I do have and grease trap that you can even plant anything in. Look, all grease trap. Aloes and bay leaf. Bay leaf, anybody that don't know bay leaf, this is bay leaf. Bay leaf tree. I just want to say I've never really liked dirt on my hands, but one day I just decided that from seeing my mother really doing and going in the dirt and reaping stuff, I say, you know what, let me give it a try. And I give it a try, and this is the result. Has not always been bountiful, fruitful. I've lost a lot, even a lot of pineapples, but I'm not going to give up. Plus, there are advantage and disadvantage. I try to do stuff and plant things that would help with the air and plus what we use to put in our bodies. So I try to do that, and then I love the plant so much. It helps me to relax when I'm doing it, and when I see the flowers and the different things that how they would produce and how they would come out, it just inspires me. So I don't know what encouragement can I give to you, but I think you can give it a try. The ones that really, really don't like dirt or put their hands in dirt, but now I love it.
Anyone out there that love kitchen garden or also love to get your hands dirty, because you will get your hands dirty every now and then. Kitchen garden and growing your own crops is good. It's playing up in the soil. Sometimes you use gloves, sometimes you don't. But it is good growing your own crops. You know what you have, but the one you bought, sometimes the different chemicals that they have, that the people sprayed with them, you don't know chemicals that are on them, so it's nice to grow your own crops. It's very good.
The truth is, food is life, and if we are not producing food, then we will all die. And I can give two reasons why I think people should get involved in farming at some level. One is we need food. We can do without fetting, we can do without a lot of things, but we cannot do without food. So we need to be able to produce some of the food that we are using each day. Then the other reason is right now, whether you like it or not, things are very expensive. Our country, the entire world is in one big economic chaos, and we need to be able to cut down on our cost of living. So if you can raise a few broilers at home, if you can raise a couple layers and you're getting 2 or 3 eggs each and every day, if you can plant some vegetables around your home, all of these are going to impact on your costs at the end of the month. And the extra money that you would have saved from not having to buy eggs, not having to buy broilers, not having to buy all the vegetables that you need, can help to pay your electric bill, can even help to pay for your mortgage or help you to make a car payment. So it is a whole matter of one, necessity, where we have to eat, and the whole matter of finance, where we can reduce on our costs of living by producing some of what we eat. Yeah, a few years ago, I think it was sometime just after 2008, 2009, when the entire world was going through an economic crisis. We did a course up here, and people like Miss Mullen has attended, Albert Holder, and some of the ladies from the church had attended. And what we try to do is we try to teach them the basic things in farming. You will not become an expert, but at least at the end of that program, most people were able to go home and plant something. Most people were able to go home and buy a dozen chickens or so and understand the process in looking after a small number of chickens, looking after a kitchen garden. And the first course we did, I must say the response was excellent. That was supposed to be 6 weeks. After 12 weeks, I couldn't get the people from my farm. They were coming back, harvesting and all this type of thing. And what we did is we carried them through everything from beginning to the point where they were actually harvesting things. And I would like to encourage people to get involved in things like this, which they can benefit from. Churches and sometimes pastors open opportunity, but the big problem, to be truthful, is that a lot of people are laid back and they do not take the advantage of what has been given to them. In the Bible, if you were to read the scriptures, God put Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden and he told them, take care of this. You read about the patriarchs, Abraham, Lot, Joseph. Joseph was something else. In Egypt, you see what Joseph did with food? Joseph made the Pharaoh, if the Pharaoh was a millionaire, by the time Joseph finished with him, he was a billionaire, and it was all about food. All about food. He took the corn, he sold them corn, he had the cattle, he had the donkeys, he had everything. Then one last thing, if I must make some scriptural reference. When we think about land, in the scripture, land was always important. In Barbados, we are satisfied to have a little piece of the rock which only hold a house. But God, in his knowledge, realized that nations must be fed. And so nations went to war for land so that they can have sufficient land to raise the goats, the sheep, the oxen, to plant the wheat and the corn and other crops. So folks, let me tell you, this whole matter of land, this whole matter of planting, it is all part of God's plan for people, that we produce food.